As we prepare for Season 5 of the amazing build series and the release of Elatrion, we have to remember that not all hunters have access to the same gear, weapons, and especially jewels. So, I'm Darcblade with a budget build for the longsword in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Now, the main purpose of budget builds is to provide a build for newer hunters who do not have a large jewel collection. Thus, these builds make use of a lot of alpha armor pieces and should allow for newer hunters to farm more jewels for their collection. Now, the budget build I would recommend for the longsword makes use of the Frostcraft set bonus found on the Velkhana armor. This is because the longsword can really make use of the Frostcraft buff as you are sheathing your weapon a lot, ultimately adding to your overall DPS. So again, it is a DPS focused build for the longsword that has a few survival options attached to it. So for this build you'll need the Rimeguard Helm Alpha, the Rimeguard Mel Alpha, Kaiser Vambrace's Alpha, Rimeguard Coil Alpha, and the Rimeguard Greaves Alpha. I'm also using an Attack Charm 5, although this could be an Attack Charm 4 depending on how far you've got through the game, and for my weapon I'm using the Wyvern Blade Luna. This is the Gold Rathian Longsword, although the Pink Rathian Longsword will do just fine if you haven't got to the point where you can take on Gold Rathian yet. Also, if you have access to augmentations, I'd strongly recommend health regen augmentation, an affinity increase augmentation, and then a defense increase augmentation. As for the specialist tools, these are entirely down to personal preference. Now, as for the jewels, the main reason behind this whole budget build series is to provide builds that don't rely on a lot of jewels. Whilst yes, I do still use jewels in these builds, these are normally jewels that are easy to obtain and not that rare. So for this build, the jewels I'd recommend are Vitality jewels to give us the health boost skill. If you can, add a Tenderizer jewel to max out Weakness Exploit. Afterwards, add a Protection jewel to max out Divine Blessing, a Sheath jewel to max out Quick Sheath, and then finally you'll have 3 jewel sockets to play around with, to which I've gone for Destroyer jewels for the Part Breaker skill, but this was down to personal preference. You can use other jewels depending on what you have access to. So if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 150 health, 100 stamina, which will be 200 health and 150 stamina when you're on a hunt and taking all your relevant consumables. You have an attack of 1056 with a decent chunk of white sharpness. You have 25% base affinity, which can be 75% when you're attacking monster weak points that have been tenderized through clutch claw attacks first, although thanks to the skill critical draw, all our drawn attacks with this build will have 100% affinity. Anyway, you also have a poison rating of 420, great for poisoning monsters and dealing some unseen damage over time to them. And as for your defense, you have a decent defense of 1008, that is strong against ice and water, but unfortunately weak to the other elements. Now, as for the skills, you've got a few of them. First of all, you'll have Attack Boost at level 5 or level 4, depending on how far you've got through the game. Attack Boost increases the raw damage of a build, so it will increase the attack rating but won't do anything to increase the poison rating. And at level 4 or above, it also provides us an extra bonus 5% affinity. You'll also have Health Boost at level 3, allowing our health to get to a maximum of 200. You have Weakness Exploit level 3. Weakness Exploit is a skill that increases our affinity when we're attacking monster weak points, and should these weak points be tenderized through clutch claw attacks first, this affinity increases even greater. Weakness Exploit at level 3 can be a potential increase of 50%. You have Critical Draw level 3. Critical Draw is a skill that increases our affinity when we're performing drawn attacks, and Critical Draw at level 3 gives us 100% affinity on our drawn attacks. And as the longsword has powerful drawn attacks, it's one of the few weapons that can really make use of this skill. Anyway, you have Part Breaker level 3, which is a result of the jewels we're using, so you may not have this on your build if you don't have the jewels that are shown in this video. Part Breaker is a skill that makes it easier to break monster body parts like severing tails and such. It also makes it easier to knock off monster materials if you're in the Guiding Lands, or if you're taking on one of the various siege monsters out there. Next up is Quick Sheath at level 3. Quick Sheath is a skill that allows us to sheath our weapon more quickly, and this does work in unison with the longsword's special sheath. You have Divine Blessing level 3, which is a good survival tool which gives us a chance at receiving less damage when we take a hit from a monster. You have Coalescence level 3. Coalescence is an odd but useful skill that when you remove a blight from your hunter, whether it be an elemental or element blight, you'll receive the Coalescence buff, providing us extra raw attack, extra elemental attack, and extra element attack. So in the case of this build, it will increase the raw attack rating as well as the poison rating. You'll also have Heat Guard at level 1, a byproduct of the armor, but allows us to be immune to heat damage in the lava areas of Monster Hunter World, such as the lava zone in the Elder's Recess or Guiding Lands. Anyway, you have Flinch Free level 1. Flinch Free is a skill that prevents knockback when we take a hit from what would be classed as a small attack. This also helps when you're playing in groups, as it prevents knockbacks from other players. And then finally for the set bonuses, you'll have Velkhana's Divinity, providing you critical element with the 2-piece set, which is kind of wasted on this build unfortunately, because we are not using an elemental weapon. If we were using an elemental weapon, basically it would increase our elemental damage when we crit a monster, and for wearing 4 pieces of the Velkhana armor set will also receive the Frostcraft set bonus. Frostcraft is what we've taken this set for. Frostcraft is a aura that your hunter gains whilst your weapon is sheathed. This is indicated by a gauge underneath your stamina bar. Now as this fills up and you start hitting a monster with your weapon, you'll receive increased attack. But with each hit, the Frostcraft gauge will deplete, reducing the Frostcraft buff until you resheathe the weapon and allow it to recharge. But as the longsword has combos that naturally allow you to sheathe the weapon and thus recharge the Frostcraft more quickly, it means that it's one of the weapons that can take advantage of the Frostcraft set bonus. But there we have it, that is the budget longsword build I'd recommend. Of course though, there are pros and cons to every single build out there. Even the greatest builds will have some issues, even if they're just minor ones. With the budget Frostcraft longsword build, the biggest pro is its efficient use of the Frostcraft skill itself, allowing you increased attack as your combos naturally sheathe your weapon. On top of that, this build also has some other attack bonuses that complement Frostcraft, including attack boost, weakness exploit, critical draw, part breaker, quick sheath and coalescence, giving you a decent damage output. On top of that, this build also comes with a few quality life and defensive skills in the form of health boost and especially divine blessing, adding to this build's potential survivability. And then finally for the pros, this build can be used pretty much against any monster. Rarely is a monster completely immune to poison, and even if they are only 1 star weak to poison, this build can still work wonders as the weapon we're using has high raw attack. But unfortunately there are cons. The biggest con for this build is the waste of the critical element set bonus. Whilst yes, you could swap out the Wyvern Blade Luna, the Gold Rathian Longsword, for a different weapon that uses a element, it's not going to be the strongest as we have no elemental attack in this build. I guess in some respects you could swap out the attack charm for a charm that gives you that elemental attack, but then you'll also have to take into account a monster's elemental weaknesses, making the build more of a specialized build than a universal build. And as with most of these builds in this budget build series, I'm trying to make the builds universal so they can be used pretty much against any monster. And then the final con, which is more of a nitpick really, is that unfortunately the build is weak to 3 out of the 5 elements out there. You can counter this if you wanted to by using one of the various elemental resistance mantles, so it's only, like I said, a minor con, a nitpick really. So there we have it, that is the budget build I use for the longsword in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Of course, as you farm more and more, hunters will get more gear, weaponry, as well as expand their jewel collection. When this happens, I hope that the other builds featured in the amazing build series will come in useful. So until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a budget build that I use for the longsword in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.